So, what if I told you you could lose 100 pounds, you reach your goal weight, have everyone praising you about how amazing you look, and you will still avoid mirrors, still feel comfortable in your own body, still hear that little voice saying, you're still fat, you're not good enough, you look gross. Research shows that while most people experience improvements in their body image after major weight loss, nearly 1 in 5 continue to struggle with how they see themselves. And the truth of it is that losing weight changes your body. It doesn't automatically change your mind. So today we're talking about why the mirror sometimes refuses to catch up with the scale. Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast, the podcast where we have honest conversations about food, body, exercise, and mindset. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, licensed associate marriage and family therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. And we have candid conversations about how your mind, your body, and your identity are one integrated system and teach you how to treat it accordingly. So if you're a high-performing individual who loves educational, thoughtful, and no bullshit conversations around health and wellness, you're in the right place. Here we believe what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. So let's have a conversation about that. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. I'm so excited you took this time out for yourself to learn something about your physical and mental health. And let me ask you, have you ever looked at an old photograph and thought to yourself, I looked so good. Why did I think I was so fat? Or you said, I wish I knew then what I knew now, right? Have you ever looked in the mirror after losing weight and thought, why can't I appreciate this? Why do I still feel like that, what women say to me, fat girl still? Because you've done the work, excuse me, you've changed your habits, you've lost weight, obviously. You get the praise and the compliments from other people. You're starting to fit in different clothing sizes and clothes fit differently. Maybe even your health has improved. If you're working with me, that's a goal for us. But somehow, when you look in the mirror, you still do not feel like you are enough. And if that sounds familiar, you are not alone. Research shows that while 81 to 85% of people experience improvements in body image after significant weight loss, nearly 1 in 5 continue to struggle with how they see themselves. And that's what we're talking about today. Because in my experience, sometimes the greatest affirmation is not what happens when you change your body. It's changing the way that you see yourself from the inside out. So this is such an important topic because in the Mindset of Matter program, my goal isn't simply to help people lose weight, right? It's to help transform their lives. And a lot of programs out there don't take this mental barrier into consideration. Because what I've learned after working with so many individuals on their wellness journey is weight loss is physical, but the healing of your relationship with your body is emotional. And those are two very different things. So today's conversation is one I really wish more people were having in this industry. Whether you have been someone who lost 20 pounds or 200 pounds, whether you've had bariatric surgery, whether you're taking a GLP-1, or you've just spent years changing your lifestyle, you may have experienced something no one prepared for you. The scale has changed, but the way you see yourself in the mirror has not. It makes me emotional to talk about because this type of thought can lead to really disordered relationships with your body and food. So let's talk about how. So there's this promise that we're sold. I think most of us believed this lie at some point in our lives, like when I lose weight, I'll finally be happy. I'll finally wear the swimsuit. I'll finally go on that date. I will post the pictures. I'll stop criticizing myself, and so on and so forth. What have you guys said? But what happens, right? You lose the weight and you suddenly realize that voice inside your head came from your head, not the scale. Because what I want you to understand is that confidence wasn't hiding underneath the weight that you had. Nor was peace, nor was your self-worth. those things are always internal. And weight loss obviously can improve your health. It can improve your mobility. It can improve your quality of life. I am not here to shit on that, but it cannot automatically heal your decades of beating yourself up mentally. So let's talk about what is really body dysmorphia. So a lot of people say, like, I have body dysmorphia, especially when they hear what I do. And sometimes they do, don't get me wrong. But oftentimes they're describing something a bit different. It's not necessarily the clinical term for body dysmorphic disorder, which only affects about 2% of our population. But BDD is a mental health condition, a very serious one, where a person becomes so consumed by perceived flaws that other people around them will barely notice, if not see at all, but they will be consumed with it. What many people experience after major weight loss is called body image disturbance. It's not that they're imagining their body different, it's that their brain hasn't fully accepted the body they have now. So I want you to think of it this way. Like, if you've lived in a larger body for 20 years, your brain has 20 years of building an identity around that body. And obviously that doesn't disappear overnight. And it's something to be said with the weight loss drugs because they make weight loss rapid if you're not doing it correctly. I work with clients on weight loss drugs, and we see a traditional weight loss like we would with a calorie deficit. The drugs just help my clients with their food noise. And some of them didn't even realize they had food noise until they got on the drug, which is crazy. So, but in other situations, I remember, so I don't know if I told you guys this. I thought I did. I tested a GLP-1 for 2 weeks because I wanted to see what it did. I lost 7 pounds. And I was like, oh, fuck that. Because I knew if I was going to lose weight that fast, like I was going to lose the muscle that I've spent decades building. So I was like, absolutely not. If I was to, I mean, I love peptides. So if I was to dabble, maybe microdose, I don't know. But it was crazy. It was crazy. So this was a long time ago. Anyways, with rapid weight loss, especially if it's very quick, like we see a lot of women go from, the 200 pounds to 150 pounds in months' time, you guys can understand why the brain still sees the old body, hasn't caught up yet. So researchers talk about something called body image lag. I love this concept because it explains all of this, okay? So again, your body changes quickly and your brain changes slowly. It's why people say things like, I still reach for the extra large shirt. I still turn sideways to squeeze through the doorways. I still avoid sitting in booths or on the airplane. And I still think that people are judging me. I have heard this over and over and over again. Even when none of those things are true anymore, the brain has created a map of who you are. And sometimes the map in these cases need to be redrawn, I should say, not withdrawn. Redrawn, words hard. And on top of that, you carry this emotional weight. And again, I think this is so important to notice because sometimes the weight wasn't the thing that was protecting you. For some people, food becomes comfort, right? It becomes safety. It becomes a way to cope. It becomes a way to shield yourself after trauma, which I've talked about. And it becomes a way to disappear. So when that armor of weight comes off, those emotions don't disappear. In fact, when the armor of that shield comes off, those emotions actually can become louder. That's why so many people say, I thought that losing weight would fix everything. It is not going to fix everything. It's not supposed to fix everything. If it was, it's there to improve your health. Healing your heart is a completely different journey. It's a completely different organ. I mean, let's just talk about that. You're losing adipose tissue, which is fat tissue. Yes, your brain is made of tissue, but you don't want to lose any of that tissue. Plus, you have a nervous system. We're not losing any tissue from the nervous system. It's all still there. It's all still there. Are you tired of wasting your money on diet and exercise program that leave you feeling pretty much the same? You're spinning your wheels, but the food noise is still there, the body dysmorphia, the overtraining and not seeing results, the emotional eating, it's all still there. But you don't think you have an option because they're pretty much all the same. What if the next program you invest in combines therapeutic practice with exercise and nutrition science and behavioral change? What if this program focuses on what you say in your mind so that you can have a better relationship on what you see in the mirror? Hi, I'm Christina Hathaway, licensed therapist with specialized training in food and body obsession, certified personal trainer and nutrition coach, and I'm the founder of the Mindset Matter coaching program. Here, we see your mind, your body, and your identity as one integrated system and treat it as such. We focus on your self-defeating beliefs and understand how they impact your behaviors and thus the outcomes that you feel stuck in. We do this through the Mindset Method, my psychological curriculum that I've curated with over 15 years experience and adapted it to you, the average woman, and this coaching program. This is one method, one program, one coach, and let's face it, the one area you've probably never done the work on. So if you're tired of spinning your wheels and wasting your money, check out the link below for more information. There's another thing I want to talk about. I'm hoping to have a gal on who is going through this. It's the reality of excess skin as well. So research shows that 84.5% of people who lose a significant amount of weight want the excess skin removal surgery. And the reason why is that no one talks about like what happens after a massive weight loss, which is the loose skin can affect not only your confidence, but your exercise, your intimacy, even something as simple as wearing shorts, okay? But many people who will finally reach their goal that they've worked so hard on for years only stand in front of the mirror and still feel disappointed. And it's not because they failed, they have exceeded their expectations, but their expectation in their head of what they're going to look like isn't what their reality is. And this isn't vanity when they're experiencing this. This is true grief. You're grieving the image of what you thought you would be. And I think it's incredibly important for people to acknowledge that. The other part, and this goes back to mental health, is we believe that the mirror reflects us, right? We don't see things as they are. We see things as we are. What you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. The mirror, in a lot of cases, doesn't just reflect your beliefs. It's reflecting your identity, right? I'm an overweight person. I'm unattractive. I'm not good enough. I'm someone who can't lose belly fat, whatever it is. And your brain keeps looking for that evidence, even after your body changes. Because it's just been in that loop that you're not good enough, you're fat, you're disgusting, you're this, whatever it is you say to yourself. And I'm being harsh because I've talked to myself this way, right? What we have to realize is that identity grew way before this transformation happened, way before the transformation happened. And recognizing and acknowledging, which I'm going to talk about how do we heal from this here in a second, recognizing and acknowledging like, that's just my old brain. It hasn't caught up with. Easiest thing you can do. So let's talk about that. How do we heal, right? Where do we begin? Guess what? We get compassionate. When you get critical, get curious and compassionate. We begin by celebrating what our bodies can do instead of obsessing what they look like. Another thing too is we stop waiting until we reach a certain weight on the scale to enjoy our lives. Because guys, I weigh a weight that a lot of women call their fat weight. I look very different, and I know that because I am strong. I'm in a capable, strong body that I can trust. You know how much I trust my body? I can trust my body to sprint away from something scary. I can trust my body if someone's trying to hurt me that I can probably fucking push them off of me at a minimum and then outrun them as long as they're not an athlete and 300 pounds. But I might be able to bench 300 pounds if I have adrenaline, right? I know that if I fall down, I'm not going to break. How do I know that? Because I've fallen down. I even know that my body is so strong that it can rehab a torn meniscus and ACL without getting surgery. Now, it's not a full tear, but you know what I'm saying? I'm in a strong, capable body. And I say that because that certain weight that y'all are trying to wait for to live your life may not exist, especially if you're doing it in the right way. If you're listening to this podcast, I sure hope you're doing it in the right way, that you are strength training, you're prioritizing your health, your mental and physical health at the same time. And that takes a fine balance. That's why coaching with me is so valuable, because it combines the balance of mental health with physical change. And yeah, it's a process and it takes time. I have clients who have lost weight with me and then gone through new situations in their lives, gained it a little bit back. And then we kind of have to go back and figure out where our barriers are. But they stay because they recognize, if I wasn't here with Christina, not only would I gain the weight back, I'd probably continue to keep the weight going because I wouldn't understand what was happening, right? So I really want you to stop waiting until you reach that weight to enjoy your lives, right? Stop believing that confidence is something that you earn. Confidence is absolutely not something you earn. Confidence is built going through hard times and growing from them. It's also resilience, right? Except for with resilience, it requires adaptation and recovery. Confidence says, I can do that hard thing. And you do it over and over again. My clients who have gone through new life situations and gained weight back, but then had the confidence to recognize, my brain is not working in a similar way as it was before. I'm kind of hearing that inner critic more again, or I'm having the fuck it's more again. That's building confidence that I can catch the thinking patterns, even when I'm in them. That's building confidence. It's not to say they're not going to happen, but again, okay. The other part of this is that you have to start reorganizing the way that you speak to yourself. Because if I'm going to be confident, I also need to cheer myself on. I say this all the time. I love cheering myself on. And I'll be honest with you guys, lately I've had some hard times cheering myself on. There's just, we're transitioning to a new model for this business, and I've had a lot of financial decisions to make. And this interim, because I'm not busy, feels like I should be doing, right? Which I know we can all relate to, and I talk about all the time. And I just have to say, this is perfect for you. This is the perfect timing for you. You get to breathe. You get to work on other things, and it's all working out for you, right? I gotta talk to myself nicer, because if I don't, you guys know I can spiral into the ship is sinking because that starts before the scale. You could start talking to yourself kindly, or at least with like neutral respect, before you even see the scale move, right? Because healing isn't learning to be perfect or have a perfect body or look a certain way. Healing is learning to respect your body, right? Respect it in every single chapter you go through. So how do we do this? How do we begin doing this? I gave you some ideas. I think the first thing is to recognize your stories. Recognize the stories you have about yourself. I had a potential client call last Tuesday, I believe it was, and she blew my mind. She said, Christina, I've put all of my time, attention, energy into my business, and I've gained weight. And she knows it's because of stress eating. But she goes, you know what? I fucking love myself. I love myself. I think I'm pretty. I have a great sex life with my husband. And I even like putting on, the clothes I wear. I'm on the news. I don't feel bad about it. But from a health perspective, I need to lose weight. That's a great example, okay, of recognizing the narrative. And her narrative is, I love who I am. And I love myself enough to know too, if I stay at this weight, there is research that shows that medically this can cause some damage to me. And I'm really excited. I hope she works with me. If you're listening, let's do this. But that's recognizing the narrative and then starting to work from who that person you believe will be once you lose the weight. Why not tap into them now? They are already here. That person is already there. It's the narrative that is standing in the way of you believing that that person is here. So write down the narratives you say about yourself. One of my narratives is, I will succeed at anything I fucking do. And that's why this interim period of not having success in this new business model right away feels a little bit off for me. But I know, just keep going, just keep swimming, right? So recognize the narrative you have. Then also recognize how that narrative plays in the way that you speak to yourself on a daily basis, especially your body. We're talking about the body. So Leah is the gal's name. She's got a very big following on Instagram, and she talks about like her transformation and how she just did new iterations of movement and nutrition and all of these things, and spoke to herself kinder and cheered herself on in her body on to say, look, I'm more capable. I did 3 laps around the yard rather than 1 or none. Or rather than saying, well, you should have walked 10,000 steps. It's like, no, change the way you speak to yourself. Recognize when you're speaking from the old narrative. Say, we don't do that here. We don't do that anymore. And my ideal self, or whatever you want to call it, my healed self, ooh, we like that, says this instead. And yeah, you're not going to believe it at first, but that's because you've been playing the same record over and over again. Like, when the fucking song gets stuck in your head and you really just want it to go away. I don't know why Ella Langley is constantly stuck in my head these days, but she's there. She takes up all the space. And that is a good example of the record of what you say to yourself, playing it over and over again. Like, you want it to go away. Eventually it will go away, right? Now I'm going to have Ella Langley stuck in my head. Then again, I've said this once, but I'll say it again. We don't just look at the weight as the accomplishment. It's the steps. It's the foundation that you create. It's the accomplishments. It's having it was just 4th of July weekend, having a fun weekend with friends where maybe you indulged, maybe you didn't get your 10,000 steps, and showing up on Monday and being like, all right, let's do it. Back to my routine. Right? Not that we have to have inflexible routines, which you guys know, but like celebrate that, because that is what will keep the weight off. Okay. That is building confidence. Oh, look, I went through a little bit of a hard weekend and now I'm right back to it. Because if the old narrative is playing, what does it say? See, you can't do this. You're never going to do this. Right? And celebrate your body. Celebrate it. Celebrate those milestones in the gym. Celebrate when one of my clients, she said, I can open jars now. I was like, fuck yeah, you can. Celebrate your body, because then once you get to the weight, you're going to be all in your feels about yourself, that it will all connect. It will all connect, and not because it will connect in a weird way. It's not a puzzle piece that comes together, because again, physical weight loss, or weight loss, is physical. Your healing in your body is emotional, but they have synergy. Maybe they're not puzzle pieces that fit together perfectly, but they have synergy. And so let's find that synergy. So I want to leave you with this question. When you look in the mirror, what are you actually seeing? Are you seeing the person in front of you standing right there today? Or do you see an old version of yourself, whether that's weight or not? The version that's built from criticism, shame, comparison, pain, because that's not who you are. You're not that person anymore. And the past deserves even compassion for what has happened, but it doesn't deserve to define who you are right now in this moment, nor in your future. So this week, I want you to stand in front of the mirror, okay? We're going to stand in front of the mirror. We're not judging ourselves. We're not criticizing ourselves. We're not looking for flaws. We're not body checking. You know what that is. Instead, we're going to do a little thanks, a little gratitude. Thank you, body. Thank you, legs, for carrying me. Thank you, heart, for beating. Thank you, lungs, for breathing. And thank yourself for refusing, to not give up on you. Then ask yourself one simple question. What story about myself am I ready to let go of? Because healing begins when your mindset changes, not the scale. I really like this one. It just came in my head and I was like, let's talk about it. Thank you guys. I hope you found this very, very helpful. Thank you for joining me another episode here. If this conversation spoke to you, I encourage you to share it with someone who needs the reminder that transformation is so much more than the number on this scale. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with me on social media at The Mindset of Matter. Your support for us helps us reach more people who are ready to transform not just their bodies, but their lives. And until next time, if I didn't get it across today, just remember that what you say in your mind, you see in the mirror. Bye-bye.